Okay.
All right, now it's recording.
Awesome.
Welcome Amanda and Justin from Titleocity. I'm sure you guys have seen Amanda on some of our team meetings, and Justin is our in-house rep, so we usually see him a few times a week. We're really lucky to partner with them and have them as a resource for our office. Moving forward in 2021, they're going to be on probably all of our team meetings and hopefully doing a training, at least every other month or so. And but they're always available for questions over email or phone. So yeah, I'm excited to kick off this year with Title 101. So I will let you guys take it from here.
Okay, let me just, am I able to share my screen, Nikki?
You should be able to now.
Okay, let me just get there. All right, let me go here. Oh, this isn't gonna, oopsie. It's gonna go through the whole thing. Okay. Slight technical difficulties, okay.
No worries.
All right, let me share now. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm super excited to be with you guys today, and I appreciate you letting us come on. I think that Title 101 is probably, to me, it's 101, but it can be, that means a lot of things, right? Title 101. So I kind of pared this down a little bit to keep it a true 101. And I want to encourage anybody that has questions to please feel free to stop me at any point if you have questions, or if there are things that we touch on that you want more information on, or that you think would be valuable to maybe explore a little bit deeper. Please make note of those things and let us know, and we'd be more than happy to kind of dive a little bit deeper on some of these things. So just to get started, Title 101, there's a lot to it, but we're just going to kind of break into, what's title, right? What is title? Okay, title, or the title to property, foundation of real property ownership, the right to occupy and use property. Okay, the ownership or the rights to a land obviously can be conveyed in a couple of different ways, most often by deed, right? So how do you find that out? Well, you start the process of ordering title insurance. So when you place an order with the title insurance company or Titleocity, we're going to do a title commitment. When you're first placing that order, we like to have as much information as we possibly can, right? So you've got your purchase agreement. In addition to the purchase agreement, you have maybe an old owner's policy, names of all the parties. If you have the tax ID or the legal description, that's always nice to include. We have run into a couple of issues recently where the purchase agreement is executed with an address only, right? Listed as the subject property. We actually don't insure the address at all, okay? So the address literally means nothing to us. We insure the property, the legal description, and that legal description is tied to a parcel identification number. So to us, the address is kind of inconsequential. So very recently, we've had an issue where we received a purchase agreement, had an address on it. We searched the address. We found that address actually covered 2 parcels, okay? So we reached out to the agent and said, listen, the purchase agreement was executed with only an address. We show these 2 parcels, are owned by the same person and apply for that address. Can you confirm for us if it's both parcels to be sold or just one parcel? The agent came back and said, it's just this parcel. And very clearly, this legal description, these lots, this parcel, that's all that's being sold. So we took that, we moved forward. We drafted an addendum on their behalf because obviously we wanted the purchase agreement, we wanted to be clear that what was actually under contract. And then after the fact, the buyer came back and said, hey, wait a minute, I don't own these other 2 lots, right? The parking lot basically of a business is what it was. And so we then had to kind of go back and deed that property, very messy, right? The sales price covered both parcels, all 4 lots, but that's not what was transferred. So again, not to get too deep into it, but legal description, tax ID number is the way to go. So I'm sure, you know, it doesn't happen very often that you have someone submitting a purchase agreement with just a PA, but if you're a listing agent and, you know, you receive an offer from someone else that, you know, you're not used to working with, whatever, you get a purchase agreement, it's just an address. I would always make sure that we're adding a parcel number, a brief legal description on that. So again, all that information that you're giving us in the beginning is going to help us to do the search to figure out, okay, where are we at, who owns the property, and, you know, what needs to be done to transfer that property. Okay, again, who owns it? How do we know who owns the property that we're either listing or that we're putting an offer on? That's discovered by a search of the deeds, right? So 3 most common deeds in Michigan would be warranty deed, quitclaim deed, covenant deed, okay? Warranty deed obviously is the most common. It's the one that we see the most with real estate transactions. A quitclaim deed is an uninsured deed. That's a deed that I could deed Justin, you know, I could execute a deed to Justin for the building we're sitting in, okay? If I draft that properly and it's in the right font and it's in the right format and it's in recordable form, I could go down to Wayne County Register of Deeds and I could record that deed from me to Justin on a quitclaim deed. They would record it. The Register of Deeds isn't checking to see if the person who is deeding a property is actually the owner. They're just recording a document, okay? So a quitclaim deed transfers, you know, interest, if any. So if I have any interest to transfer, I can transfer that to Justin. I can accept money from Justin and go record that. It doesn't mean that Justin's actually getting the whole picture, right? He's not getting the whole piece of property. So quitclaim deeds, you know, I'm always wary of quitclaim deeds. I wouldn't probably take a quitclaim deed without a search being done from even a family member, right? Why not search the property and find out exactly what the ownership stance is? Okay, so again, how do we figure this all out? Well, we have to go to the public records. So once that order comes in, purchase agreement's been executed, you know, we've got a signed contract, we start to do the search. The search of the public record and the examination of that search is really the meat and potatoes of what the title company is responsible for. It's our job to make sure that every interest that has been passed along through the years is taken care of. We want to make sure that there are no breaks in the chain, okay? Breaks in the chain of deeds. We also want to make sure there's no outstanding interests in the past that were not taken care of properly. Nowadays, the lenders and the banks are a lot better about recording discharges of mortgages. But for a very long time, they weren't. There's almost little tier or, you know, companies or sister kind of to the industry companies now that will track down these discharges and kind of hold the banks, the lenders accountable to record an actual release once they've been paid off. The one that we use and one of the most popular in this area is called Require. So sometimes you'll see a fee on different title companies do things a little bit differently, but sometimes you'll see a fee, a Require fee or a release tracking fee. And that's basically a separate company that is tasked with, okay, Chase Bank, you've been paid off. This wire was sent to you to pay off this mortgage. Now we're going to follow up and make sure that you do what you're supposed to do and record that discharge. Okay. So everything in the search of the property is kind of like a yin and a yang, or like a positive and a negative, right? Like if there's a mortgage, we have to have a discharge. If there's a lien, we have to have a release. So that search and that examination is just the process of going through, at the very least, the last 40 years to make sure that we are aware of every stray interest or every encroachment, if you will, or lien that's on the property. Okay. I think I have something here later about policies, but I'll just talk a second about policies. Basically what we're doing when we're searching the property is we're deciding what requirements are necessary for us to be able to insure this transaction and issue a final policy. So we used to, back in the day, say, you know, clear title. We want to ensure clear title. Now the word that we use kind of is marketable title, right? There are some things that are really old in the title that we just know that we don't have to necessarily worry about anymore, depending on what it is. It might be a very old mortgage or a very old, say, interest that had expired, and it wasn't necessarily taken care of with a release or a discharge, but we still have examined the title and kind of done an assessment of what our liability might be to not deal with that issue or to insure over, if you will, that issue. So a big part of that process is our underwriting, right? And getting the underwriter involved when need be, to take a look with us and say, hey, this is what we think. Let's take a peek and see, is this something that we feel we can insure over and move on with the, you know, with the closing of the property. Okay, this is probably one of my favorite things to talk about at a party. Yeah, really a lot of fun at a party. General title insurance concepts. So when someone asks you, you know, well, so what do you do? And you say, well, I work for a title company. And they're confused because no one really knows what a title company is if you're not in this industry. I work for a title company, or I work for a title insurance company. And they'll say, well, what is that? And I say, well, we're an insurance company. We're regulated by the Department of Insurance and we issue insurance policies. That's when they want to look around the room and figure out who else they should talk to that's more interesting. But I explain it this way. So medical insurance, auto insurance, right? Those insurances are insuring future unknown risk, right? We're insuring the past, right? We're insuring prior defects that may exist in the title. Okay, so when someone asks you, a lot of times when the TRID thing happened, all of a sudden the CFPB decided they were going to call an owner's policy optional, which is fine. It is optional. Sure, it's optional. You don't have to have insurance if you don't want. But when you're purchasing real estate, and it's probably one of the bigger purchases you're going to do, maybe only a few times in your life. Okay, insurance is a major need. Okay, but sometimes consumers, the buyer or the seller says, well, you know, the owner's policy is optional, so I don't want to pay for that. Okay, you're right, it is optional, but again, you want someone to be on the hook for any loss or damage, you know, loss for the interest in the property. If you're spending $250,000 on a property, you want to make sure you're the only one that has claim to that property. Okay, maybe a mortgage lender as well, but you want to make sure that there's nobody that's going to come back and say, hey, wait a minute, I've got some interest in this land. Okay. Long before title insurance was a thing, attorneys would just handle this and they would call it an opinion, okay, of title. And they would write out this big, long opinion of title, but they were in no way, shape, or form insuring that or backing anybody to say that if somebody were to come down the road and say, hey, wait a minute, that's my land, you know, there was nothing to fall back on. There was nobody holding the bag, if you will. So that's kind of why, you know, the industry needed to become a thing, right? So again, homeowners insurance, auto insurance, medical insurance, insuring future unknown risk. We're insuring the past, basically, making sure that what you're buying is what you think it is as far as interest goes. One more small thing I'll mention about the interest. When I very first came into this business in the mid-90s, it was explained to me this way, and I can't remember if it was a First American or a Fidelity video. It was like an old school video that they would show you when they wheeled in the TV into school. I remember that day and everybody got real excited. It was like the best day, wasn't it? Oh, it was the best day. I miss those days. And anyways, it was a little video and it was like a cartoon video, almost like the one we saw in school about the Constitution and, you know, all that stuff. But it talked about the title to property in like a bundle of, say, 10 sticks, right? So when you purchase the property, you get an owner's policy and you have what we call fee simple interest, okay? That means you're the only owner of that property. You have, say 10 sticks, call it 10 sticks as fee simple interest. If you deed your property to somebody else and you do it on a warranty deed, you're literally handing over that bundle of 10 sticks, right? Okay. When you purchase property, say tax title, which down here in Wayne County, we see a lot of tax title in the city of Detroit. Okay. So somebody, gets under contract, they've got a buyer, they come to us with a purchase agreement, we do a search, we find out that they've bought, it's tax title, that they have a tax title interest in the property. Well, they don't understand that. They say, well, no, I've got a deed from the county. You're right, you do. The county took the property for taxes. So if we're talking about a bundle of 10 sticks, maybe the county has 2 of those, okay, that represent their interest in the property via tax title, okay? There's these other interests, okay? These other sticks are all over the place, right? Maybe 2 of them are with the prior owner, 6 of them are with the prior lender. These are the things that we start to get a little bit messy when you're talking about clearing title and the sole ownership or the fee simple ownership of the title. Okay. I'm going to try to find that video and send it to you guys. If you get a VHS in the mail, it's from me. We'll try to get you a VCR. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So in that same kind of idea, eliminating title defects. So something that we would refer to as a defect would really just be, a lot of it is just kind of the normal regular stuff, right? If you have a regular buyer-seller deal and it's pretty cut and dry, they have one mortgage, taxes are paid, there's no association, there's no other liens, we're going to call that a defect to ourselves, but really that just means we have to get a payoff letter and pay off the mortgage at the time of closing so that we can insure the property. Are we masking up, Steve? Do you want me to put my mask on?
So
I've got a nice one here. I got a Traverse City. Also, again, with mortgages, that's the most common type of lien or encumbrance that we'll see on a property. Obviously, most people mortgage their property, right? But then also we can get into the whole idea of liens, right? Judgment liens, tax liens, construction liens, just general claims of liens, things like that. So when we're doing the search of the property, we're trying to look and see, okay, what liens apply to this property? Either they're against the person, and again, a federal tax lien, a state tax lien, it's against, me as an individual taxpayer. That lien, if it's recorded at the county level, is going to apply and attach, we call it attach, to any property that I own in that county, right? So those are the kind of things that we're, in addition to, a mortgage, we're going to work to try to clear those items and probably be asking the agent, the real estate agent, for some information if need be on their client. We find that a lot of the time, the consumer, the seller, say in this example, doesn't necessarily know that there's a lien that's been placed on their property. They might know that they are a little behind in taxes. They might know that they have a tax lien. Sometimes there's some confusion about the way that those liens attach to real property. Another kind of funny story recently, HELOCs, right? Future advance mortgages, we used to call them, or HELOC loans. People get confused sometimes. They forget that that's a mortgage. I know that sounds silly, but just last week, I had a lady who she had taken out a mortgage. She'd got a home equity line of credit for $30,000 at that same time. Well, she never used it. She never touched it. So when we go to her and say, okay, we show 2 mortgages on title, she says, I don't have 2 mortgages. Well, yes, you do. No, I don't. Okie dokie. Yeah, you do. So I'm like, I'm looking at the signature page on 2 mortgages that I'm happy to send you. Well, I never used that. That was just a debit card they gave me. They probably did, but we still have to release it, So 2 days later, she calls me back and she says, great news. I went to the bank and I closed the account. That's not great news. we have to be the ones to facilitate that, or else we're going to need a whole bunch more information from the lender so that we can close without paying this off or getting a payoff letter from the lender. So that I think gets a little bit confusing too with people. If you don't do this every day, sure, you know, you took out this mortgage that you never used however many years ago, and now we've got to jump through some hoops to try to get it cleared before you can sell. So that's a little bit deep dive on the HELOC thing, but I find it interesting because so many times people, I think, just don't even realize what you know, what's on their title to their property. Objections and exceptions. What did I say? Oh, this is just more about the defects in title requirements, exceptions, and documents. I'm going to send this to you as well, Nikki, once we're done in PowerPoint. I also have a bigger version of this that's about 50 pages that the underwriter calls Title 101, but it's Title 1001. So yeah, but I'll send it. So these 11 slides that I have here today are really just what I felt like was truly a 101. Now, there's a lot more that we could go into. I know that we talked about possibly doing like something on the commitment and reading a commitment. Some agents and some brokers have expressed to me in the past that they don't want their real estate agents reading a title commitment, which it's not that you need to be completely versed and be able to understand every single little bit. But I think that there's a degree of value in knowing enough to not be dangerous, if that makes sense, right?
Steve, how do you feel about that? Do you think title commitments are a good thing that we should?
Yeah, at least from my perspective, absolutely. My understanding is that the agents need to be able to decipher any requirements that come up from a title commitment and be able to convey those to their clients. If something needs to be cleaned. So absolutely. I mean, I guess I can't speak for our broker, but but yes, I would like that maybe as a Title 102 or 201 or, you know, something like that.
We could do just a reading the commitment thing. I think there's a couple of little tricks to reading it that makes it easier, you know, where if I say, okay, you don't have to pay attention to numbers 1 through 5 on the requirements page, Schedule B, you know, you can say, well, why? Well, because they're standard requirements. They're always going to be there. Sure, you can read them if you'd like to, but there's the specific requirements that once you're used to looking at that Schedule B, your eyes are almost immediately drawn to where those specific requirements start. It's just kind of a natural thing. I would say the same with the exceptions. You know, I think even when we're talking about, like, say, salespeople in title insurance that maybe don't have a ton of title background, but they're really great salespeople, and they start trying to, you know, learn title, there's a lot of confusion on what's a requirement, what's an exception. You know, I had someone recently getting ready to take their test. They were preparing for the licensing test. You know, we have to be licensed, right, to do what we do, just like you guys have to be licensed to do what you do, okay? So there was a salesperson, super on fire, ready to go, and they were studying for the test. And he called me and he said, listen, I've got a question. I keep getting hung up. I'm doing this practice test. I keep getting hung up on this commitment requirements and exceptions and policy requirements and exceptions. And he said, why are there no requirements on the policy? Well, there's no requirements on the policy because we're saying in the commitment, we're saying if we satisfy all of these requirements, then we can issue a policy. So once the policy's been issued, that means basically all of the requirements have been taken care of, right? So there's only exceptions to a policy versus a commitment having both requirements and exceptions. I could talk about commitments all day. So let's, for sure, if you want to do like a February, we could do it. If you want to wait and do a March, Nikki, that's fine. I think if we do the commitment next, that would be really cool. I would want to send you guys some stuff in advance to have in front of you that just with almost kind of a marked up commitment, if you will, with some kind of little, almost like a cheat sheet of kind of you could go back to and look at this and compare it with, oh, that's right. This is the proposed insured and this is, this and that and kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to do February or March, whatever works best
Okay.
for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with February, so I will have, I'll reach out to you guys, and Justin, I'm sure I'll see you sometime this week as well, or next week, and we can chat about it then and
Okay.
figure out a day.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
I
I
see.
just
I
want to chime in
can't-
on that.
I can't
I think,
see everybody.
I think that's a great idea. If maybe you could make like a sample commitment that's marked up with, highlighted things that are, we should be paying attention to as agents, and maybe even a sample of something that is bad that we want,
Yeah.
that might run across commonly. Maybe
Yeah.
a survey that's required for a lake house or something that.
Okay. Let's talk about riparian rights. Yes.
Too fun.
Oh, for sure. Up there or wherever, is it left, right? You guys aren't north, you're west.
West.
We're west.
West.
I know title, I don't know geography.
The other thing I was thinking was the app. I think that the Titleosity app for using for getting closing cost estimates is priceless for us as agents. I use the version of that all the time. Whenever I'm writing an offer, I'm always trying to see, what those potential closing costs are that we might need to ask for in concessions. I played with the Titleosity one a little bit, but it appears it needs some setting up as far as some defaults in there that I didn't know how to do that. And I thought maybe you could walk us through that.
Would you, so I'll thank you, that title capture, it's called title capture. Everybody pretty much has it now. I mean, it's pretty slick and I love it. I have a lot of agents that use it that really like it. And then if they get confused or something, they'll call me, and sometimes it won't quite fit, right? The unique situation won't quite fit, but
Right.
I'll take a peek at ours, Steve, and see what needs to be adjusted so that we have all of those standard things calculating properly.
Great.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
Perfect. Yep. Absolutely. And I'll let you know once that's done. So that'll be pretty quick. I move kind of fast. So within the week, you'll see something from me. The other thing I want to mention is, and I don't know if we've really said anything, or we're rolling out a couple of really interesting things that I want to just kind of share with you quickly, and we can send you a little bit of information. One is called Zachem. Has anybody heard of Zachem? It's kind of like Earnest. Earnest, I know a lot of the KW brokerages in our area are going to. It's almost like a mobile app it is a mobile app for earnest money and for closing costs. Okay. So we're in the process of setting that up right now. We are in the implementation phase, and I think next week we'll be moving on to our beta testing, and that's going to be really nice. Okay, so if your buyer, wants to submit EMD and you would like for us to hold it, we have the option of your buyer being able to set up an account quickly on this Zachem, and then they can literally, just like when you have a check that you want to deposit with your phone, you can do that for earnest money. And then we're going to have it allowed where you can do that for the actual closing cost up to $150,000.
That's really
So it is cool. Very often we get asked, someone will call and ask for wiring instructions, and we'll give them to them. And they say, well, can I just, don't you guys take a debit card? No, we don't.
Yeah. I get that a lot for earnest money as
Credit
well.
card. I'm like, no, we don't. It just is the funniest question to me every time, but I get why they're asking it, right? And especially this younger generation, these young people buying houses. I mean, people are buying houses that were born in the 90s. Insane. It's insane. They're on their couch at 10 o'clock at night. They want to, they got their check earlier and they want to, easily, send the money or whatever. So we've got that coming. We'll send you some info. And then we've got something else coming called Ready to Close, which I don't know if you've heard of. Steve, go ahead.
I was just going to ask with the cash to close monies, so up to 100 and something thousand, you said.
150.
150, so they can write a personal check for that amount?
No, it still has to be a cashier's check.
Okay, all right, that was my question, is if it had to be
Yep.
certified funds at that point.
Yep.
I was like, we could transfer that to be certified then.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And sometimes someone might think that it's just as easy to send a wire, you know. Everyone's got different ideas about what, you know, what they want to do and why, and so we are trying to just make it as easy, I guess, as we can, whichever way works best for you, whichever way you feel most comfortable. You know, we have some people that just don't feel comfortable sending a wire.
Right.
It's, you know, and I get that. So we're excited to be able to offer that. We'll send some materials, and then once we actually have it live, we would probably be asking to come on and do like a demonstration to show how it works, to see if anybody wants us to even have a one-on-one, to go a little bit deeper dive and that kind of thing. I know I'm taking up a lot of your time, but I do want to mention a few more things. We also, in conjunction with this Zocum, the EMD app, we are going to be rolling out something called Ready to Close. And that's basically like a website for the agent, okay? The agent gets a login, and say you have 5 deals going with Titleosity. You get a login, personal login, you pull it up, say, you know, you're all day showing, it's 8, 9 o'clock at night, you finally get home and you sit down to your email and you think, okay, I've got these 5 deals I have to now go follow up on, and I've got to email all these people, and I've then got to wait back, you know, to be able to update my client or whatever. Well, Ready to Close is basically a tool. The agent can go in and see all 5 of their deals that they have going, okay? They can click on any particular deal. It actually shows up as like a little Google Maps, almost tile. And that tile, you'll see, say like a 1 through 5, like we're in step 3 of 5, okay? Or we're in steps 1 of 5. And that's kind of milestones that we're setting to say, here's where we are in the closing process, right? So you can click on that particular file and look to see what's been done, where we're at, what's still needed, what your client's been asked for, or what your client needs to provide. And then the agent can also give their end of the day client, their buyer or seller, access. So it's like a one-stop shop for like updates of where are we at in the process. There's also an option on there to get wiring instructions. All of the file contact information is right on one page. And then also we can have documents e-signed through the app. Non-notarized documents or documents needed in advance of closing, say an addendum or even a payoff authorization, can be easily e-signed on the app and pushes directly to us. And then as far as the updates, those are live real-time updates. So as the escrow staff or the title staff is completing tasks on their end and the files moving throughout the process, those real-time updates are going to be pushed through to that app, right? So we'll want to do a demo for that once we have that rolling as well. That's probably going to be early February that we'll have that kind of going, and we'll be doing some testing with it. So does anybody else have any other questions? Any other title questions or anything recently you've seen that's interesting or you might want to know a little bit more about? Or no? Claire, anything?
No, I'm just soaking it all in.
Good. It's a lot.
I might have some questions once February, if we do it again in February by then, but right now, there's just a lot to, you know, soak up.
It is. Yes. Yep, it is.
Yeah, we have a lot of brand new agents on this call, so I'm still
Good.
working through it, but I'm glad that they have things like this to take in. So
Well, there's a lot to it, and I've done it
Yeah.
for a long time, and I'm not a professional trainer, you guys, so I do apologize. I'm just an old school title girl. So sometimes if you've done something for so long, it's almost like you miss the little, you know, the little bits, right? So I'm gonna send this to you. If you have any other questions, or if there's even just anything that you want to email me or call me about, either in the presentation or just a thought of, you know, something comes to mind that you want to ask about. I've done this for about 25 years. It's all I do, and it's all I know how to do, literally. And it's kind of like a passion. So it's more than a job. It's a part of who I am. So I'm always ready to talk title. So.
I have
awesome.
a quick question after we're done recording.
Okay.
So you're gonna send us the PowerPoint presentation?
I am.
Okay, because I didn't.
I'll send it to Nikki. Yep, I'll send it to Nikki, and then she can send it out to you guys or post it wherever you guys have your resource materials. Yep,
Great.
for sure.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. I'm gonna